The eviction moratorium protecting renters during the pandemic is expiring. And to talk more about what that means for you and your family, Zach Newman, the executive director of the COVID-19 Eviction Defense Project, he's here to answer some of your questions. And thank you so much for taking some time to chat today, Zach.
Thanks for having me, Katie. Excited to be here.
So let's talk about why the CDC first established this eviction moratorium.
Yeah, I think the CDC moratorium was established for two reasons. One, to slow the spread of COVID. Obviously, if people are being evicted from their homes and moving into public spaces, that increases the spread of the virus. And then the second thing was just to protect human beings. Eviction is an incredibly cruel act. It hurts individuals, it hurts families. And so evicting people during a pandemic when they're facing a historic virus and the world is kind of on its head really didn't make sense to policymakers. And I think for those two reasons, the CDC implemented the moratorium.
And do you think that the moratorium has been successful?
Look, no public policy is perfect. There have been evictions during the moratorium, but net, it has prevented a very significant number of evictions in the United States and kept families in their home during a really challenging moment in our history.
Right now, as we're speaking, it's about a couple days until the moratorium expires. However, at the time that some people might be viewing this, it might have already expired. Do you think that the country is ready for it to expire?
No, I don't think so. Look, there's a lot of fatigue around eviction moratoria. I know tenants are tired of the moment, landlords are tired of the moment, policymakers are tired of having to deal with this. But the reality is that right now, millions of Americans live in households that are behind on their rent. And when the moratorium lifts, being behind on your rent means at some point you can be evicted. So all of those families are going to be at risk. Now, whether they all get evicted or not is anyone's guess, but we're going to see a lot of people in very scary situations here very shortly.
And I want to talk about those evictions because as a person, that can be a very traumatizing thing to have happen to you or your family, but it also might have an effect on your community. So could you just touch on what that does to people when they are evicted and then what it does to, their surrounding community?
Yeah, so there are family effects and there are community effects. On the family side, people who experience eviction, are more likely to experience declines in physical well-being and in mental well-being. Kids in households that experience eviction have really significant declines in their ability to attend school and to learn. And then, of course, it's harder to keep a job when you've been evicted. It's harder to make it to work on time and to do all the things that go into keeping a job. On the state and local side, county governments, city governments have enormous costs when people are evicted. There are costs associated with emergency room visits, with shelter nights, with increased risk of institutionalization. It's incredibly expensive, and it's really a bad policy decision. It doesn't return anything to the county, and it puts a lot of cost on them that could be avoided just by paying rental assistance for those families.
And I want to talk specifically about people who fear for being evicted right now because they might be wondering, are there any assistance programs out there at the federal level or at the local level that they can take advantage of to make sure that they aren't a part of that statistic?
Yeah, so I think there are really two things that are important to mention here. One is that if you get notice from your landlord, if it's an email, if it's a call, if it's a formal notice on your door, if it's something in the mail, whatever it is, contact a local attorney. There are legal services through nonprofits and through federal legal services that are free. Getting advice from those individuals can really make a difference. And then the second thing is emergency rental assistance. The Biden administration has allocated $46 billion in rental assistance dollars to families. That money is available right now. The process can take a while. The application is complicated. Get that application in. The money will help and it can resolve that outstanding debt. So again, I would encourage people to talk to an attorney and apply for that rental assistance as fast as they can.
All right, Zach, is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you think is important for people to know?
No, I would just say, landlords, tenants, this is the time to work together. I know if you're a landlord and there's a rental balance, it probably feels really frustrating, but that money from the Biden administration is available. It can be applied for. It doesn't just pay back rent, it also pays forward rent. So rather than going through with an eviction, work with your tenant, apply for that rental assistance, and get that account trued up.
Sounds like there are some programs, at least, or some assistance out there for people who need it, both on the landlord side and on the tenant side. Well, thank you so much, Zach, for spending some time with me today and for talking all about the eviction moratorium and what that means when it expires for some people. I appreciate it. And you can read even more about that and options for renters in our online article. Katie Johnston for CBS Local News.